My roommate is a vampire, by Dennis the Menace. Chapter 5. No use crying over spilled blood. And just where do you think you're going? Vinyl snapped, planting a hoof on my chest. No, not Vinyl Scratch. She, or it, or whatever it was, wasn't Vinyl Scratch. Something else had taken over. Something animalistic. Something feral. I swallowed, afraid to speak, squirming. I yelped as I was grabbed by her magic, her horn aglow, hurtling me onto the soft bed. I bounced once and sat back up, watching the vampire, trying to hide myself with my hooves. If I can't see her, she can't see me. If I can't see her, she can't see me. A quick peek revealed otherwise. I barely managed to elicit a squeak, my heart skipping a beat as she appeared by my side. You shouldn't have gotten involved, she snarled. I quivered, sniffling, hypnotized by her crimson eyes and her fangs jutting from her jaw like canines, sharp and pointy. Both looked equally vicious and deadly, but mesmerizing at the same time. I couldn't help but stare. Quit your sniveling, Octi. I haven't even bitten you yet. Sheesh. Those very words made my blood run cold. Maybe that was a good thing. Vampires probably preferred their blood warm and sticky. I swallowed. Please, I whispered tearfully. She moved closer. I scrambled back, my rump bumping against the headboard. I was trapped, cornered, no place to run or hide. I won't tell any pony, I cried. How pathetic I was, begging for my life. What would you say? What would you do? She grabbed me roughly, wrestling me down onto my back, pinning my legs back, licking her lips at her tantalizing prey. No longer did I feel her warmth as her body pressed against mine as she leaned in, her face above mine. You know, she whispered in my ear, her voice a sultry coo. None of this wouldn't have happened if you just kept your nose out of it. You're right, Vinyl. My mind flashed back to Manhattan, roughly 5 months. That past week had been somewhat of a nightmare for me. So far, I'd nearly gotten into a bar fight, had every cent robbed from me, and was now aimlessly wandering around the streets of Manhattan at some ungodly hour past my bedtime, looking for some nightclub among dozens of nightclubs for that blasted unicorn with the electric blue mane. Vinyl Scratch, better known by her stage name, DJ Pony. I'd felt a little proud of myself, accomplishing so much in so little time. I don't know what to think anymore. This town had more smoke and mirrors than the great and powerful Trixie's magic show. It was a seedy establishment, a worn-out, worn-down brick building with even seedier ponies hanging around outside. This was the same nightclub I'd wandered into the other day, where I had met her. I was going to need a real drink to cope with the robotic music, the robotic ponies, and the flashing lights. What was I really doing there? Gate-crashing their little party with my scarf and bow tie? What was I looking for? I was just some dumb Canterlot filly in a place where dumb Canterlot ponies were less popular than the authorities. When you've been living in Manhattan for less than a month and can't find your way around, after being fired for a disastrous grand galloping gala, and you're in some lonely nightclub in the middle of some poor slum, and you can still have to call yourself a musician, then you know you're a loser. How is this my life? I struggled to no avail, my face heating up. Just relax, she crooned. I had one last shot at this. She obviously wasn't in control, right? Vinyl Scratch, I swallowed, throwing as much passion as I could into my words. I love you. Thinking back, I'd realized how shallow I sounded, throwing these words out there. I saw her eyes dilate for a second, and for just one moment her demeanor changed. Her stance loosened, and her expression had changed from predatory to perplexed, confused. Has it worked? Had reciprocating her love for me changed her back? Yes, I'd gotten through to her. Vinyl, oh thank goodness. Nice try, Vinyl sneered. Hollis apples. Did you think that the power of love was going to save you? Well, yes. Drat. Well, every pony, I tried my best. Nice knowing you lot. I can't say I didn't at least try and not be devoured by some bloodthirsty creature of the night. Game over, every pony. Now just hold still. I'm going to die. She's going to bite me. Maybe I'll pass out from the blood loss. I felt her teeth scrape across the soft flesh of my neck. I cringed, tensing up, feeling her fangs sink into my neck. Well, that wasn't so bad. I meant, sure, I was bleeding now. It felt like getting a shot, but after she bit me, I felt her suck and lap at my wound. I let her feed in silence, and clucked my tongue, staring at the ceiling. She was certainly vulnerable in this position, but it wasn't like I was going to grab a lamp and smack her with it. Well, this was awkward. It wasn't the most pleasant experience, I'll admit, and it wasn't quite as romantic as I hoped, preposterous as the idea sounded. Having some pony's jaws clamped around your throat isn't as fun as it seemed, and I made a note to send an angry, very angry, disapproving letter to the author of my novel, telling them how wrong they were. Still, I'd take having a vampire suck my blood rather over getting my blood taken at the doctor's any day of the week. It was certainly a much more intimate experience. Was the room spinning, or was it just me? Oh my, I feel quite lightheaded. Final pulled away, my blood staining her muzzle. Last chance. I leaned forward, mustering all of my strength, all of my courage, putting every ounce of love I had into my kiss, pressing my lips against hers, closing my eyes, and moaning into the kiss. At that point, I was more worried about cutting my tongue rather than the taste of my own blood. When I pulled away, I saw her looking down at me, her jaw agape. Please snap out of it. Please snap out of it. Octi? I had expected her to tell me that I was a darn good kisser or something along those lines. Oh, Vinyl, I said woozy. You are back to normal. She spotted my bite marks and gasped. Octi! Oh, yes, I think I might have been bitten by this beautiful mare, I drawled. Would you mind grabbing some bandages? Hold on, I'll save you, Vinyl gasped. Oh, yes, just some antiseptic. I'd hate for it to get infected. I think I'm gonna pass out now, if you'll excuse me. Now, like I was saying, it was a long time ago. Octi! Vinyl scratched, yanked off her headphones, hugging me tight. I pushed her off of me nervously. So what brings you to this part of town? She asked cockily. Oh, well, I stammered bashfully. I just thought I'd say thank you for saving me the other day. Don't mention it. Hey, now that you're here, how about we go dancing? Dancing? I gulped. Oh, well, you see, the thing is... But she wasn't listening. And before I knew it, I was on this dance floor in the sea of ponies, unable to keep my own hooves in front of my face, and dancing along with my new friend. I was an awful dancer. If I was, however, she didn't say anything. And I had to admit, it was actually quite nice. Not the part where I was dancing in close proximity with a bunch of sweaty ponies. Just spending time with her. Time to wake up, Octavia. When I came to, I sat up, wincing at the soreness in my neck. Touching it, I felt bandages wrapped around my throat. I heard the sound of weeping. Vinyl sat in the corner of her room, as far away from me as possible. She seemed almost docile now. Harmless. I was a little dizzy, only for a bit. I guess I hadn't lost that much blood. And in that moment, I felt something rise inside of me. I didn't know how to feel. Angry, I suppose. Any pony would feel angry. Betrayed. Vinyl? I whispered. Vinyl, are you alright? She turned around, her eyes bloodshot and bleary. No longer the shade of crimson, but now a beautiful magenta. No, I'm not alright, Octi. I just bit my best friend. Oh. Am I a vampire now? I asked cautiously. Vinyl shook her head, sniffing. No. Oh, well then. That was a bit of a disappointment. She wailed again. But now my best friend hates me. I sat up in protest. Vinyl, I don't hate you. I just lost control. Vinyl ignored my words. I tasted the blood and I thought of you, and how... She sniffed. How delicious you taste. I was so thirsty. Now I knew why she had gone to the hospital. and I wasn't quite sure if it was me tasting delicious was supposed to be a compliment, but I took it as one anyways. You know, Vinyl, I would have let you bite me sooner if you really need a drink, I said quietly, trying to lighten the mood, grinning. I just snapped, you know? I understand. Not really. I didn't. Not in the slightest. I mean, your best friend's trying to kill you, I shot back. Hey, I wasn't trying to kill you, per se. I'm a monster. I'm a monster. No, Vinyl Scratch, don't say that, I snapped. I stood up, moving over to her and lying next to her on the floor. She flinched and shrank. I'd never seen her like this. So small. She was always bigger than life in my eyes. And then I slapped her. She looked at me, stunned. Ow, Octi, that kinda hurt. I slapped her again for good measure. I think you've made a point. Vinyl sniffed, rubbing her sore cheek. One more time, because I was still mad at her, and it felt really, really good. Repeat after me, Vinyl Scratch. You are not a monster. She shuddered. Not a monster. Good, I smiled, satisfied. I'm just an awful best friend. And with that, she buried her face in her hooves again. Ugh, I wasn't getting anywhere with her. I twitched as more tears began to flow again, her magenta eyes shimmering, glassy, and she blinked, drops sliding down her face. My expression softened. Come here. Ronald made no move to slip away as I pulled her into my arms, kissing her wet cheek, stroking her mane to soothe her. She rested her head against my shoulder, her body racking with each sob. Shh. Shh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm sorry. I held her close, squeezing her to remind her I was still there. Her sobs became softer and softer, and her tears stopped flowing as she drifted off. Sorry, she mumbled. I know. I'm sorry too. As it turns out, Vinyl Scratch still slept like a log, vampire or not, and was apparently as heavy as one. I spent the next hour or two trying to drag her into my bed after changing the sheets. I was going to have a hard time explaining that to the other tenants, but I decided that telling them that it was Vinyl's time of the month was appropriate. She was like a big, bloodthirsty teddy bear, and the best part of it was that she was all mine. I giggled, hugging her tight as I too slipped into sleep. Ow. I'm awake again. Her horn is poking my eye. Ow. Ow. I hadn't expected my first time sleeping with a unicorn to be so horny. When I awoke, she was no longer in my arms, and I could smell smoke. Smoke? Smoke! I shrieked. Fire! Where? Vinyl appeared in the doorway, grinning, still missing her glasses that I accidentally broke. Just making breakfast. I didn't know you could burn juice. Shut up! Vinyl sheepishly grinned. I tried making a hey, sorry for trying to kill you breakfast in bed, but I don't think it's very good. Wait, she turned on the stove by herself. I didn't hear any sirens. It's the thought that counts, right? How bad can I be? Vinyl sighed in relief. That's good. You're gonna need a spatula to scrape the eggs off of the frying pan. Oh, and we're all out of toast. I just bought an entire loaf, I yelled. Well, the toaster didn't agree.